An information security management system without objectives is a management system without direction. ISO 27001 Clause 6.2 requires organizations to establish information security objectives, measurable targets that give the ISMS a clear sense of what it is trying to achieve and allow management to evaluate whether it is succeeding. These are not aspirational statements of intent. They are specific, monitored, and planned goals that connect the information security policy to real operational outcomes. In the next few minutes, we will explore what ISO 27001 requires of these objectives, how to write them well, and how they link to the broader performance evaluation requirements of the standard. Let us examine the specific requirements ISO 27001 places on information security objectives and what each requirement means in practice. Clause 6.2 of ISO 27001 sets out 6 specific requirements that information security objectives must satisfy. Together, they ensure objectives are meaningful, achievable, and connected to the ISMS. Consistency with the information security policy is the first requirement because objectives are the mechanism through which the strategic commitments in the policy are translated into actionable targets. If the policy commits to protecting personal data and maintaining business continuity, the objectives should reflect those priorities. Objectives that address risks or areas not connected to the policy's commitments suggest that the ISMS documents are not aligned, a finding that auditors will raise as a systemic weakness. The requirement for objectives to be measurable where practicable acknowledges that not every security outcome can be reduced to a precise numerical target, but it sets a strong expectation that organizations will try. Vague objectives such as improve security awareness are weak because there is no way to determine whether they have been achieved. A measurable equivalent: 100% of employees complete the annual security awareness training by December, creates a clear success criterion that can be monitored and reported. Objectives must be grounded in the information security requirements the organization faces and in the results of the risk assessment. This requirement creates a direct link between the Clause 6.1 risk management activities and the Clause 6.2 objective setting process. Objectives that address the organization's highest priority risks and most significant compliance obligations will be far more effective at improving security than objectives chosen based on convenience or industry convention. Monitoring and communication requirements mean objectives must be tracked over time and reported to relevant stakeholders. This is not a passive exercise. Monitoring involves collecting data on progress, identifying objectives that are at risk of not being met, and escalating those risks to management. Communication ensures that the people responsible for achieving objectives are aware of them, and that management receives regular updates on progress. These activities generate the documented evidence of performance evaluation that auditors seek. The requirement to update objectives as appropriate recognizes that security priorities change. Threat landscapes evolve, regulations change, the organization grows or changes its business model, and risk assessments produce new findings. Objectives that were appropriate 12 months ago may no longer address the organization's current risk profile. The update requirement creates an expectation that objectives are reviewed at planned intervals, typically aligned with the management review cycle, and revised when the security context changes. The planning requirement is perhaps the most operationally demanding element of Clause 6.2. For each objective, the organization must document what will be done, what resources will be required, who is responsible, when it will be completed, and how results will be evaluated. This planning discipline transforms objectives from aspirational statements into managed work programs with assigned accountability, allocated resources, and defined success criteria. Now let us look at practical examples of well-written information security objectives and how the SMART criteria apply to making them genuinely useful. SMART objectives: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, are the gold standard for writing information security objectives that satisfy Clause 6.2 and drive real improvement. Reducing security incidents by 20% compared to the previous year is a strong objective because it satisfies all 5 SMART criteria. It is specific. It identifies the metric and the direction of change. It is measurable. Incident counts are tracked in the incident register. It is achievable. A 20% reduction is ambitious, but realistic if the underlying causes of incidents are being addressed. It is relevant. Reducing incidents directly reflects the purpose of the ISMS. And it is time-bound. The year boundary creates a clear evaluation point. Training completion objectives are among the most common in ISO 27001 programs because they directly address the people controls that underpin information security. A 100% completion target with a specific deadline creates clear accountability for both the security team that delivers the training and the line managers responsible for ensuring their teams complete it. The objective should specify what counts as completion. For example, passing a post-training assessment with a minimum score, rather than simply attending a session. Vulnerability management objectives address one of the most significant technical risk areas in most organizations. Specifying 0 critical unpatched vulnerabilities remaining open beyond 30 days creates a clear service level that the IT and security teams must maintain. It is important that the objective defines what constitutes a critical vulnerability, typically using a recognized severity classification such as CVSS score of 9.0 or above to prevent ambiguity in monitoring and reporting. Internal audit completion objectives ensure that one of ISO 27001's most important assurance mechanisms is actually executed on schedule. An objective specifying that the internal audit covers all in-scope processes by a particular date prevents the common failure mode, where internal audits are perpetually deferred due to competing priorities. Including all in-scope processes in the target ensures that audit coverage is comprehensive rather than selective. Supplier security assessment objectives address the supply chain risk management requirements embedded in ISO 27001 Annex A, specifying Tier 1 suppliers, the organization's most critical third parties, as the target population focuses effort where the risk is highest. An assessment completion target with a deadline creates the accountability needed to ensure that supplier security due diligence actually happens rather than remaining an aspirational activity in the risk treatment plan. Let us bring together the essential points about information security objectives under ISO 27001 Clause 6.2. If you want to implement ISO 27001 effectively, including setting information security objectives that satisfy Clause 6.2 and drive real improvement, our complete Udemy course provides templates, worked examples, and step-by-step implementation guidance. Enroll today. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. See you in the next video.